This segment is sponsored by the Real Estate Top Performers. This is a special edition because we're doing the couples edition today with our real estate teams. I am joined by Steve and Christy Summers of the Mortgage Link, and then also Josh and Janine Waxman of the Waxman Group Real Estate. Welcome, everyone.
Welcome. Thank you.
Steve, let's start it off first with Deal of the Day. We can't start this
We
segment
can't miss
without
the
that.
deal of the day. So I've brought a very special guest
You have?
for the deal of the day. I brought Santa. For the
Santa.
deal of the day.
Santa.
So the deal of the day right now with Mortgage Link is 3.49, no points, 30-year fix with an APR of,
3.53.
there you go.
It's a great rate.
That is great. Santa, are you in the market to come to D.C.?
I am
Ready
in
to
the
leave
market,
North
but
Pole?
I've got to get back to the North Pole because I am busy and Miss Claus is waiting for me. So I'll let you guys get back to work.
Can I have Howard's gift first? After.
Thank you, Santa.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Santa.
That's special.
Great deal.
Yeah.
Great deal.
Yes, it is.
It is a great
It's been
deal.
consistent too for a while. We've had some really good deals here.
They've been steady.
Yeah.
Certainly rates have been great. By all means, knowing where the market's been for a while, that, getting to this particular level, we haven't touched this in a while, so it's a pretty good rate.
That's awesome. Okay, well, first, you're not supposed to work with your husband or wife, but you all have. How's that going?
We're all here.
That's crazy, right?
We're all here together.
Yeah. You guys, so I'm sure you strategize a lot at home. Finding the best way to win the deal, right? That's something we talk about a lot. What are some of the tips for our viewers who are thinking, I want to buy a house in the new year, to make sure that their bid is the one that's accepted?
Sure. Well, I guess I'll jump in.
Sure.
You want to work with your buyer's agent. Have them take care of their homes, make a competitive market analysis. Really, the first step is to just understand the market, right, of where you're looking. Then have your agent talk to the listing agent. Once you're sort of narrowing it down, they're not going to come right out necessarily and say, "Hey, I've got 3 offers and this is what they are," but they will give you a lot of information. They might say, what kind of contingencies are necessary. They might tell you that other offers even exist. Most of the time,
I think they always
their
do.
sellers
I
will
think they
want you
always
to.
do.
I've only had one client say no, and I still don't know why.
Really?
Yeah, but you'll learn a lot of information that's very valuable just from having your agent talk to the listing agent, and then based on understanding the market and the communication between the agents, you'll then have a good sense on how to leverage contingencies, right? Home inspections, when to do them, when not to do them, or how to do them. Appraisals, same thing. When to waive an appraisal or not. Of course, if you do waive the appraisal, just be careful that you're able to facilitate the deal in the event an appraisal comes in low. There's some other things to look at.
Yeah,
There's some
strategize.
strategy.
Yeah.
There really
Yeah.
is. There
Yeah.
really is.
Sometimes people talk about, should I use an escalation clause, for example? Well, sometimes it's a really good idea, but sometimes, to be careful, you also show your cards a little bit in doing that.
When you do that.
And also, there's this idea that a lot of people like. Maybe you can write a personal letter. It's kind of interesting.
Yep.
Say, this is, who we are. But, I advise to stay away from talking a lot about yourself. If you want to write one, write about how much you appreciate the house. Try not to include a photo of yourself. This is me,
Less.
my spouse, my
Right.
kids. There's all kinds of, fair housing issues that you just don't want to open up.
I like everything you're saying, but we got to look at your wife to make. Is he
Please
telling
do.
the truth,
Yeah.
Janine, or what's his story here?
He's always telling the truth, always.
Yeah. Do you recommend the personal letters, or is that?
The personal letter, just what Josh was saying, focus on the home and why it's the home for you and your family, and really to stay in compliance with fair housing laws. You really want to make sure that it doesn't get too personal. But sometimes
Can go too far.
it does move the needle a little bit and makes a difference sometimes.
Yeah, it's an emotional transaction, so it's important to let them know how much you love the home and how bad you want the home. And
But Chrissy, when it comes down to it, are they going to go for the highest bid, right, in the end, or do they sometimes pick emotionally?
not always. I
Okay.
mean, Steve and I, we had an escalation clause on ours when we bought our home years ago. And I certainly, again, it's an emotional transaction. I think that them meeting us and knowing how important the house was to us and how much we love the home, worked in our favor. But we did pay higher than the other people.
So it kind of both.
So,
I'm trying to
mean,
forget. I'm wondering if we were the highest one, but yes.
Well, sometimes you just have to try everything, and that's why it's important to do this sort of a little bit of research at the beginning with your agent because you want to play it right for each unique deal. There isn't one way that works for every single time.
Steve, I also wanted to ask you, when you're going through an open house and the agent that's there said, I have 4 bids already, they're all over my asking price. Do you believe that? Are they telling you the truth right then?
So, you know, I have to take everyone for being honest.
Yeah.
You know, I've been doing this a long time. Of course, my first impression often is like, oh, sure there is.
Right.
At that juncture, when someone is usually putting an offer in, they've gotten some attachment to that home. I mean, that is, you know, regardless if there's multiple offers or not, once you've gotten that attachment,
You kind of want to go all in?
yeah, it really,
Okay.
you know,
I'll also add, if you do use an escalation clause in the legalese of it, there is a legal requirement for the listing agent to present the next best offer.
Oh,
You know,
okay,
they can
that's
cross
good.
out, you know, the name so you don't know who it was, but they do have to
have to
show you
disclose it.
that they're not.
Yeah.
I think he's
behaving
telling
that
us
way.
we got to believe it.
Yes, yes.
We've
we
got to
do.
believe him. We gotta believe him.
We could chat about this for another
Yes.
hour or so, but that is all the time we have for today. Remember, for more information about buying a new home or refinancing, all you have to do is call 833-MTG-LINK, or you can visit themtglink.com.